My name is Erin Mink, and my essay is entitled A Philosophical Definition of Technology. And I begin this essay but with a quote from Karika Rami, and she says that technology is a body of knowledge devoted to creating tools, processing actions, and then extracting of materials. And with keeping that definition in mind, I would like to go further with that and say that technology is not only about doing all this, but is also a tool for the advancement of society and culture. So the term technology in itself is one that is wide with, and all individuals have their own way of understanding and interpreting the meaning, although not are all equally plausible or well substantiated. And for millennia, mankind has used and developed technology to complete daily tasks and solve problems. Technology also advances due to the increase in demand for certain aspects of life. So that's how new technologies arise, and then our demand to solve new problems evolve. So we have the impression that technology is not only to be perceived as valuable or good. However, that's not always the case, because when we're referring to some ethical principles in relation to technology, they're not all seen as being positive. So this paper outlines two emerging technologies that can demonstrate the evolving technology in today's society that benefits society and reduce harm and human error. So those are blockchain and SmokeBot. And this paper will further examine blockchain and SmokeBot by applying the philosophical theories of technology to two philosophers, and those are Mario Bunge and Jacques Ellul. So to begin, the goal with blockchain, as stated by the Harvard Business Review, is that we can imagine a world in which contracts are embedded in digital code and stored in transparent shared databases, where they are protected from deletion, tampering, and revision. In other words, it's a safe database so that everyone can have access to the important documents and they can't be tampered or are subject to human error. And although there are ethical concerns with regarding this type of technology, because there's always the problem of hackers and privacy and ethical concerns, all individuals must trust that their files are confidential and are treated as such, including by everyone by the government. SmokeBot, as stated by Ben Coxworth, is intended to perform a reconnaissance mission in low visibility, smoke filled buildings, creating maps that firefighters can follow, which obviously will save the lives of many firefighters. Images and other data are transmitted in real time to a human operator located outside the building who's controlling the robot via internet connection. However, it will automatically make its way back to the last location at which it had access to the internet if it does crash. There are many philosophers who have wrestled with this philosophical implication of technology on the human species, and I'm going to begin with Mario Bunge. So Mario Bunge describes how technology is often considered soulless or even anti-ethical to philosophy, and he wants to reject this idea and to say the opposite. He talks about this idea of pragmatism in the philosophical theory that basically describes that if something works, then that's all that matters, and we should not attempt to manipulate it or change it in any way. He also talks about the metaphysical implication of technology, and an example of this would be military technology, which is used for good to either protect us or others, but is also seen as a weapon, a bad weapon, and has the ability to take a person's life. And Bunge approaches technology from an objective social perspective, and this objective approach to technology can describe how the use of both blockchain and SmokeBot can benefit society. So, to apply Bunge's theory to the technologies that we have further talked about, SmokeBot and blockchain, these two technologies were created to facilitate the daily task of human life. And while the pragmatic attitude, the goal of technology is to manifest change in an observable state of reality, both SmokeBot and blockchain do so. As SmokeBot would increase the level of safety for the firefighters by being able to maneuver through buildings that are engulfed in flames, blockchain can also protect the safety of important documents that are at risk of being tampered or destroyed. And the creation of both these technologies was derived from meeting a certain demand and trying to figure out a way to do these simple tasks better. And now another philosopher that I'd also like to apply to the following technologies of SmokeBot and blockchain is Jacques Ellul. And he is another philosopher who wants to equally clear up certain misunderstandings that inevitably arise in the discussion of technique. In his essay on the aims of philosophy of technology, and Ellul further states that how he attempts to simply present, by means of comprehensive analysis, a concrete and fundamental interpretation of technique. He begins by describing how technique is the totality of methods rationally arrived at and having absolute efficiency in every field of human activity. He argues that technique is the complex and complete milieu in which human beings must live and in relation to which they must define themselves. It is a universal mediator, producing a generalized mediation, totalitizing and aspiring to totality. He argues that instead of being submissive to humanity, humans have to adapt to the technological change, as the most dangerous form of determinism is the technological phenomenon. If an increased number of people become fully aware of the threat the technological world possesses to man's personal and spiritual life, and if they determine to assert their freedom by upsetting the course of this evolution, then this forecast will be invalid. Then we can apply these technologies to Ellul's philosophical theory, and both these technologies have implication to affect all domains of human life as explained by technique, the social, political, and economical. The goal of SmokeBot is to ensure the safety of human lives while at the same time attempting to make the process of saving lives as efficient as possible. Also, blockchain was created with the goal of making the access of documents more efficient and yet also logically ensuring its safety. And both of these technologies can apply to all aspects of life, which include the social, political, and so now I want to discuss the similarities. And furthermore, one can compare the philosophical theories of Miro Bunge and Jacques Ellul because they both have the similar approach, their philosophical approach and perception of technology from an objective perspective. And there also can be some differences where Bunge states that technology that is inherently evil, design of weaponry, extermination of camps, and so on, Bunge would argue that some technologies are inherently evil because all of their useful effects are outweighed by the negative aspects. So we see only the good, but there are equally number of bad, but we just outweigh the good to be better because it benefits us and we want to forget about all the negative. While Ellul argues that humans should adopt to technology and first fully have an understanding of what it means to be good in itself. So Bunge contradicts this by saying that some technologies are inherently evil instead of attempting to understand the fundamentals of what it actually means to be good. So Ellul kind of looks at like the foundation of it, and Bunge just goes to say that no, there's some that are good, there's some that are bad, but most of them their bad outweigh the good. But then Ellul wants to ask, well, what does it mean to be good? So that is an overview of my essay for philosophy of technology, and thank you very much.